Welcome to the Pink Hearse Podcast, a real and whimsical look at what it means to be fully alive with all the joy and chaos and pressure and vulnerability and beauty. Take the ride along with unexpected guests and be inspired to fall in love with your own unique destiny and meaning. Take it, shake it, break it. Or maybe we're supposed to hug it, rub it, and love it. Whatever it is, it's getting touched. Consensually, of course. Zachary and our guest Kim Krans are doing donuts in the hearse, and there's powdered sugar everywhere. Let's hop in and enjoy the delicious scenery that these two bake up for us.
I need you to be quiet. I'm trying to sleep. Is that you, God? It is. But God, you are dreaming me, and I am trying to awaken. Have you been talking this whole time? This episode is sponsored by, I forget, some delusional dingbat who thinks that we have sway over your wallet choices in this attention economy. Honestly, as Tom Robbins said, the more advertising I see, the less I want to buy. So, ...
There's no way you're not looking if you're listening to this podcast. Looking for something, for some song, some spark. By chance, you found us. So why not allow chance to guide and illuminate your path? Roll the dice that come along with your copy of God Help Me I'm Awake, Volume 1, Wisdom Quotes for Daily Awakening. To laugh and be inspired, go to godhelpmeimawake.com. Again, that is godhelpmeimawake.com, godhelpmeimawake.com.
Our guest today is Kim Krans, who is a New York Times bestselling author, the founder and creative director of The Wild Unknown, and your occult-turned-mainstream drawings can be spotted on tarot cards, handbags, books, snowboards, celebrity social feeds, and tattoos across the globe. But also, we both went, or I am now currently going to, a very magical program at Pacifica, and we're connected through Mary Antonia Wood. So, again, thanks for being here. Shout out to Mars behind you.
Now Portia's behind me. Both cats are here.
Oh, wow. Here we go.
They're all over it, actually.
Kevin, my brother and producer, is going to have to mix the telepathic signals that they're sending simultaneously. Multi-layered. So to begin, we just finished creating this book called God Help Me I'm Awake. It's a little dice oracle book. I grew up in New York City. We would play a dice game called CeeLo, and I figured out that if you roll 3 dice, there's 216 outcomes. So it's an accumulation of various quotes, little fables, and I'm going to roll the dice to kind of see who wants to join us here. 1, 1, 1. Wow, triple ones. That's pretty, never rolled that before for this book. So that's the first quote of the book, which is perfect, and it's by Wendell Berry. To go into the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings.
Just for clarity, you really just threw 3 dice and they all are ones?
Triple ones.
Okay. Just checking.
Yeah. I've rolled triple ones in my history of playing CeeLo in New York. I've never rolled, this book is brand new, so I've never rolled them with the book thus far, and that's feels pretty perfect. So in addition to that, there's 2 things from one of your amazing creations that I was going through this morning and kind of practicing a bit of bibliomancy, if you will. To begin, I wanted to read from page 13 of The Wild Unknown Archetypes Guidebook, something you said that really resonated and kind of felt like a beautiful setting of the stage intention for this episode and flow. you talk about the deeper mountain, the inner mountain. Within it, there is a cave that holds a fire that contains the ocean. If this doesn't quite make sense, it's because we've already entered the realm of archetypal story, where things are both up and down, where the mountain is both inside and out, where a falling is the beginning of a rising, where the poetics reign over the logistics. If you don't mind, just keep descending with me. I promise it will lead us to higher ground, where we have a better view. The archetypes are already doing their work in their meandering, dreamlike way. It reminds me of the Wendell Berry quote, going into the dark. And so then I pulled a card. This is my wife's deck. I don't recall, I think I've used it with Molly, but I've never used it on my own. And so how cool that talking to you through Mary gave me this opportunity. The card I pulled is the Vision. And I asked before I pulled the card, with the intention for this episode to pull a card. So I know I'm reading a lot of things before we flow, but if you don't mind, I'll just read what the Vision
Please.
card. Yeah. So the vision, the dream, the imagined, the revealed. It is said that we are each born with a unique vision, a destiny toward which we are aimed. It is also said that we forget this vision the moment we are born. Thus, we are sent on a lifelong journey of rediscovery. Such is the elusive nature of the vision. It slips away, yet it guides. It appears in strange dreams and surreal images, seemingly unattainable and preposterous. When we are connected to the vision, we carry an inspired, enchanted aliveness that others recognize. We trust the world and its synchronicities. We walk through new doors into wondrous opportunities. We all want to be near those with vision. They emit energy more potent than any elixir. When we lose connection to the vision, life becomes dull and exhausting, lacking meaning. Bring back the mystery. Bring back the dreams. It's funny because we both obviously have been steeped in similar readings, I imagine. And Molly and I often joke about, or she would always say, having gone to Pacifica before me and telling me now that I'm lucky she didn't divorce me when I wasn't in Pacifica. Because those who learn about some of these things, it's almost like not worth talking to people about deep shit unless they too have, undergone that. So that description is something I've said countless times, in different ways, something I've heard Michael Meade say, it makes me think of, I believe, lot, like your lot in life, and the tabula rasa, and the idea of the wood chip that is simultaneously blank on one side, so that's perhaps your will and your collaboration, but also your destiny, mission, vision on the other side. So anyway, I just grateful to be here again. I can feel, without trying to assume there's synchronicity, or I genuinely feel a gravity of this is great to be here. So I have another one of your books here we can reference. I have Mary's book here, The Archetypal
Beautiful.
Artist, which rocked my world. Maybe some more bibliomancy. I'll probably roll the dice again, but to begin officially, I guess, I was curious if today, in this moment, you had any feelings, thoughts around your relationship to your daemon, if that aligns with your understanding, or the miraculous, as Mary Oliver called it, which is a little different perhaps than a personal daemon or the miraculous. And Jung's experience, the idea that artists aren't free, that we're kind of possessed by something. I relate to that in many ways and love that dance. So just curious your thoughts today about daemon, muse, miraculous, etc.
Wow. I guess I will start with this preposterous idea that I have sometimes that like I get to direct it and choose it, the path and the way that it rolls out into the world and what happens. And I think in this, like, speaking of the vision card, like quite a manifestation obsessed culture and manifestation in the controlling sense. Like, I'm going to get what I want when I want it, and it's going to be exactly like I want it to be, and there won't be any pain because I can do it. And oh God, I could just really go into that topic all on its own, but to stay with this idea of the vision and the artist, I didn't have any plan for the tarot deck, the first Wild Unknown tarot deck, to get big and to take me on basically a 15-year now journey with this series of Wild Unknown products. Like, before I made that, I was an artist in my studio making, 12-foot drawings, and I wanted to have a gallery career and show in museums eventually and just be a fine artist that had my work in fine art context. And I was trained to do that. I went to school to do that. I was obsessed with it. And somehow, through I would say, the surprising way that the daemon moves, which is surprising. If we are not surprised by the way the destiny moves, it's not the destiny, it's just a fucking career path, you know? Like, my art career, fine art career, fell apart. I ended up in Philly. I drew the tarot deck, and it took me on this trajectory where now I was drawing this really small artwork, tiny cards, started to study spiritual practice, mantra, and the Sri Vidya lineage from the Himalayas, really dedicated practitioner to that, and found Jungian psychology just a little while later. And those two wove into my own personal practice. But meanwhile, the art wasn't being gatekept by a price point where there's one original drawing and a collector gets it at a gallery and a museum gets it. And then if it's exhibited, everyone gets to go look at it for 15 seconds. And then it gets put in storage with the tens and thousands of other pieces that, I don't know, if you look up the number of pieces the Museum of Modern Art has in storage, it is haunting. Like, where is all that art? Who gets to see it? When and how? So suddenly my art that I wanted to be fine art, expensive, I wanted to be that artist, that famous artist. Suddenly my stuff is at, Urban Outfitters, Target, it's on Amazon a couple years later. And it's a blessing because, like, so many people can get their hands on it and interact with it. And also my ego is like, wait a second, I thought I was going to be selling this work for X amount. It would be framed on a wall and there would only be one of them. And instead there's like counterfeit decks being printed in China that are available for $3.99 on wish.com.
Amazing.
Don't
That's
buy
when
them
you made it. Yeah.
Don't buy them, by the way, people. Like, just don't,
Yeah,
because they don't come with a guidebook, and it's just like bad vibes juju over there. But
yeah.
anyways, but I think that's the dilemma of the artist on the daemon's path, because there's so many trip ups and so many, like, you get turned over and under all the time. And it's like, if the ride itself is the opportunity to make the work, you don't like get right sided up and then you're in a place where you can make artwork. For me, it's like I have to make it while I'm churning in that wash machine. And then it has a kind of healing spirit to it. Because, by the way, like, we're all in this fucking wash machine,
100%. So a few things. A, where are you from, if you don't mind me asking, or where'd you grow up?
A farm in Michigan, 140
Oh, cool.
acres, farmland.
Near
Yeah.
Motown, my favorite, right?
Except
Michigan,
8 hours, eight
eight
hours
hours
away.
away. But you were in the you had the morphic resonance of the great Motown
Yeah.
ghosts, my favorite beings of all time.
Yep.
Cool. I grew up in New York City, like I mentioned, and I went to the New School and to Waldorf schools. I went to Rudolf Steiner, and I don't know, for some reason thought you might have been in that world as well at certain points. I'm sure you've spent time in New York.
Oh yeah, I'm in New York now. I went to Cooper Union for undergrad and Hunter
Cool.
College for grad school, studied art there. So yeah, the New York art
Nice.
scene is like in my blood in that way, for better or
Yeah.
for worse.
Yeah, exactly. So the other things that I thought of when you mentioned the manifestation in the often modern westernized way it's used, it makes me sick. It always has. And I always think of the quote by T.S. Eliot. I said to my soul, be still and wait without hope, for hope would be hope for the wrong thing. And the other one, those who the gods wish to punish, they answer their prayers.
Mm.
So I love those. And then talking about the muse, I always thought it was funny that the museum is spelled with muse, who's saying, like fun. If you
Yeah.
break down the word, the muse is like, and then,
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
and then also my mind conjured this image for a long time now of the muse hanging in a Gucci straitjacket, suspended like a chandelier above leering businessmen in suits who aren't really paying attention anyway. So the haunting imprisonment of paintings. And things are as they are. The world's a mess, always has been. It's not our job to change it, I guess, as Campbell says, but definitely eerily similar. And I love your descriptions of it. And it's my own experience as well, from being signed to record deals when I was young and having this image that was kind of inherited. I think if you're a certain type of creative, depending on what you do, for you, it was fine art. For me, it was music. And so it's like, you're going to be, you're either going to be a working musician, which I'm not that type of musician who could necessarily be hired out to do X thing, or you're going to be a superstar, you know what I mean? So like chasing that and being haunted by that and starving myself, which is also, I loved your beautiful just exploration of food. And I too I probably still do, some sort of eating disorder, but I used to starve myself because I was being filmed a lot and smoking weed and thinking I could figure out a secret to the universe, sponsored by a gin company, went to a mental hospital, had a great initiation, but all those ways that I've literally been like rocked. But I see it as this vision quest initiation that has, thank God, landed me now sober and relinquishing. It's like I've given up. I'm a failure to the part of me that wanted to be the impossible thing. And what a blessing it is to now be living in what feels like bonus time, honestly.
Amazing.
As a dad,
Congratulations.
thank you. I'm dead and I'm still here. Hooray. For real though. And your skeleton friend I also have a skeleton guide named Finn on my leg, and he's a character in our worlds. But so bibliomancy, I opened Mary's book, and it's coming up right now because of what you just spoke about, modern artists. That's one of the papers I just wrote for my final, was about that. And what I've found with Pacifica is there's certain keys, I'll call them, pardon, there's many, but there's certain ones that ding in such a way, like a hammer tap on just the right point of something I've known, but it's just like perfect cracking open of the coconut for my final revelation and, resistance crumbling, because now I'm verified in my suspicions by these incredibly wise people throughout time. One of those was Mary's highlighting of, throughout many cultures, the muse was not meant or intended or asked to create things that were logical or of use to what society deems to be of use to answer questions. I love that. The muse is moody, irresponsible, speaks in nonsense. Obviously a bridger between the unconscious and the conscious realms, and a creator perhaps of symbols as opposed to signs, etc. So the bibliomancy that I pulled, Hillman, she's quoting Hillman, James Hillman, restore the dignity and freedom of the image maker in the name of the liberty of the people against the rising tides of commercialism, industrialism, and empire, which were the enemies of the first romantics as they are of us today.
Wow.
So, again, holding it all
It's
lightly, but yeah.
it's so helpful. It's like bolstering for me. I hold the sort of two different definitions of the artist that I don't know if you touched on this at Pacifica, but Susan Rowland was particularly obsessed with this one passage in I think it's Spirit of the Art and Man, Spirit of Man and Art History,
Hmm.
and
I've been reading
it's
that.
Jung's book
Hmm.
on Picasso
Joyce.
and Joyce. And so Jung gets really into this, and Susan highlighted it strongly for us, this distinction between a visionary artist and a
Hmm.
psychological artist.
Hmm. And the
And it
blending
kind of, yeah,
sometimes.
it kind
Yeah.
of alludes to the point that you're talking about around like, um, and for me, just for listeners, for a little context, the psychological artist is the one who knows what they're making before they're making it. So it's to an end. You're making a painting and you know what it's about. You kind of know what it's for. You know what direction it's aimed in. Something magical might happen along the way, but you're not in the unknown. You're in your own kind of efficiency and exploration, maybe with some psychological layers within it. But you know what the conversation is, and you're sort of like, for me, I always think of it like I'm in the driver's seat with the work. And I've been making these decks, for me, that translates into like, it's product making. Like when I
Hmm.
go into the process of making one of these decks, writing these books, I'm working with a marketing team, I'm working with the salespeople, the editor, and it's like, it's so controlled.
Hmm.
And I can find moments where I can get uncontrolled or in the mystery within the actual card, like within
Hmm.
a single image. I'm like, ooh, that's so weird and
Hmm.
mysterious. And thankfully, the editors haven't cut out those things and like make this card more understandable. They don't do that with me, which is great. I'm sure they do that with a lot of artists and authors. But to go to the flip side of what Jung was saying was this idea of a visionary artist is they're really letting the unknown and the mystery or the muse, as you're saying, that's the one driving the ship. So it's like this idea of you move my hand, you pick the paint,
Hmm.
you do it. I'm
Hmm.
here facilitating, but like whatever the fuck you want to take me on, like I'm here for it.
Hmm.
And I always think more of like David Lynch or like just like you can't explain that work.
Hmm.
It's like it puts you in a trance. It puts you in a different place.
Hmm.
And so I find just hearing what you just said about Hillman, it helps me get more courage to be in the studio and be like, yeah, I actually don't know what this is.
Hmm.
And it's okay. I'm working on these bigger pieces right now, and I was just looking at it yesterday. I don't know what the fuck this is.
Hmm.
And because my brain is so trained by the world of commerce
Hmm.
to make it consumable, I don't have my muscles
Hmm.
built for as much visionary work right now. So that's like something I'm actively trying to practice. It's like,
Perfect.
thanks for reading that. Thank you, Mary, for writing it.
Hmm.
Um, thanks, Hellman.
Yeah.
It's not easy right now. We have to know what the album is going to be called, where it's going to be shopped, what platform it's going to be on before we sit down at the fucking piano.
So James Joyce, as you know, had two definitions of art, right? With pornographic or, I guess, pure. I forgot the exact wording he had for the, I guess, visionary art in this scenario. But the way I always understood it is, like you said, pornographic art has an end, it's basically anything that has an agenda, an opinion, an intention, a message, obviously marketing or healing. I mean, honestly, I get tired. Like I said, I'm from New York, so I'm very much kind of in the crux. I'm a divorced child. I feel like that ripples through many elements of my life, but I grew up in hip hop, but I went to Waldorf, etc. So that's kind of been my experience. And I'm equally like, not disgusted because whatever, but just turned off by extremes of any cliquey thing that became a thing, which is why Herman Hesse is one of my all-time brothers. Damien, Steppenwolf, those who really just embody individuation, if you will, and like what that entails. And when it aligns with the market, that's great. Thank you for saying all of that as well. I think for me now, a few things come to mind. One is it seems like you became successful by following the muse. That's the like irony. When you drop into that place and you surrender, good stuff comes. And then, if maybe for some, success comes. And then there's just that ongoing dance. And I think it's beautiful what you're doing because you're doing both. And I guess in the name of individuation and wholeness, that's the goal. So that you don't have to be a monk on a mountain, rambling, wild, free. You're operating in, it's both at the same time. So to me, that's beautiful.
I am excited for my monk avant-garde poetry phase, though, on a
great.
mountain. It was just like some performance art,
Yeah, that's kind of where I am now, so more than I've ever been. And it's amazing, but it's something you do have to constantly tend to the weeds. Actually, I don't even want to call them weeds because weeds are great, shout out to the weeds. Yeah, you just have to constantly watch out for the little voices that get implanted every day, internally and externally, from loved ones, from wherever you go, that make you second guess it. But I think of the joke about the guy in the office who wins most humble worker in the office. They give him a t-shirt that says #1 humble worker in the office, and he wears it to work the next day and they take it away from him.
Why did they take it away?
Because he wasn't humble anymore. He bragged about being humble.
Oh God. Oh, I see.
So I think about that as like an analogy of you follow the muse, but then you make money, and then it's this kind of dance. But then I think about what my son said when he was 4. He just spouted it out. Dogs must be on leashes if they want to escape. I love that quote because to me, it's limitations or freedom. So it's both at the same time. Not that you're asking for whatever, but that's just but recently I've stopped. What's really helped me on what you're describing, because it's been incredibly messy. My whole life has been art from a visionary place. But then in an attempt to survive and fit in and wanting to connect and wanting to eventually make a living as I got older, out of my teenage phase where just flowing, that other stuff comes in, and then my visionary projects become like, it's almost like this tension pulling both ways. I'm leading with my heart, but then my mind's coming in. It's very uncomfortable. So now what's helped is going to Pacifica. I have no idea where the DCH program is going to lead because obviously that doesn't have a clear path per se. Like my wife who got licensed, she had more of a goal at Pacifica. I'm not. But it helps me have like a channel towards something. I could be a teacher. Who knows? I could talk to Kim Krans. I could, whatever. I can use it to evolve my path and be around more like-souled people. And then I have the God Help Me I'm Awake book, which is actually a coffee club and a whole thing. And I have a team, and that feels like a balance towards something that is like a business, but it's still very poetic. And now I'm able to create my music and the books I'm making and the poetry just for the fuck of it. And it's so fun. So anyway, for me, it's helped to have like tricking my psyche or creating these rooms in my psyche where I'm like, okay, here, free for all. Here, maybe we'll make some money, but still mostly free for all, but balance, etc. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Mental hygiene for my creativity has been very
Yeah,
helpful.
I like the dog being free by the leash. There is that conundrum or contradiction of the structure giving the freedom. And I just want to go back to something around this idea of being a visionary artist and sort of just making. It's such an interesting balance. I think about this quote, Rick Rubin quote. I'm botching it a little bit, but he basically says like, don't think about the audience, like
Yeah, of
ever. Just
course.
make
Yep.
for yourself.
Yeah.
I've always been like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like,
Hmm.
I do not relate to that in
Hmm.
any way.
Hmm.
Like when I'm making stuff, I am definitely in my world,
Hmm.
but I have the person like right next to me in my
Hmm.
mind, and I'm trying to have a conversation with them through the work. Like,
Hmm.
if I move this thing over here, we're gonna feel this, or they're gonna
Hmm.
assume this, and
Hmm.
that's too straightforward. I'm gonna broaden it and open it up. Like,
Hmm.
I've just I really feel like that's a way when you were talking about the push and pull that I stay both visionary and I try to have
Hmm.
it work for someone. But I'm not thinking about the critics or the market. I'm thinking about like there's somebody that's going to look at this.
Who is it?
And
For you, who is that person? Do you know? Have you met them? Like in
for
imaginal?
me,
Yeah.
it's like a them. It's like a them us. And it's very intimate. Like I want them with me.
Mm. Yeah, I love that.
It's like a second person. It's like writing in second person, like you. Um,
Mm.
it goes back to that what you read at the beginning from the guidebook. It's like if I'm going too deep or this is too vague, like stay with me.
Mm.
I feel that in the studio a lot. Like, no, stay with me. What do I
Mm.
need to do to pull this work back so that the viewer will just stay with me a little longer? It's
Mm.
really not about the content. It's really not about the subject. It's not even
Mm.
about the narrative. I want to share an experience with people. It's
I
like,
love that. I agree.
as a musician, you know what I'm talking about. Like, if you are in the pocket and the crowd is in the pocket with you,
Mm.
it's phenomenal exchange of energy.
Mm.
And I
100%.
can't ever quite think, I can't back that, Rick Rubin. Sorry, Rick, but
Yeah.
like the audience is with me. Like
Yeah.
I am with art now as an audience member. Like
Mm.
I just went and visited this Picasso painting and sat with it for 5 days and just like,
Wow.
Picasso's so annoying and he's such a shithole, and like at the same time, I was just like, I want to be with this painting and
Mm.
see what's here. And I think that type of exchange just feeds the artist and the viewer, even though he's dead. It doesn't matter. I
Mm.
had like an amazing Picasso dream the first night
Wow.
I started this practice. And so I think the exchange is where it's at. You
Mm.
can't control it, but you certainly can feel it when it's alive and working.
So many phases, obviously, the idea of Alan Watts saying to help another person is the equivalent of a monkey rescuing a fish from drowning by putting it in a tree.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, I mean, it's the same dance, I think, for me of you don't make it for someone, but you make it for that person, but you don't make it for the market. You don't make it for the audience. You don't make it for the algorithm. And then there's just phases in time. I'm very seasonal. Recently I've been in what I like to call kind of like inside joke lyricism, but it's very intentional. It's not abstract to be a pain in the ass. It's actually an exhaustion of trying to make sense and surrendering into like this lexicon word association, which is a hybrid of everyone from MF Doom to Wu-Tang meets Hillman meets Haruki Murakami meets we all have our own filtration system and zeitgeist, whatever. And so I have like a lot of voices. I've read thousands of books, whatever. So I'm now just letting that merge. And I joke with my producer, some of the music, I'm like, I don't think anyone actually will ever get some of these metaphors because they're cross pollinations between street hip, whatever, mixed with death psychology, but they'll feel the radiance of it, perhaps. And if anything, there's some autistic god out in the universe who is clapping like a motherfucker. And even if it's just one autistic deity who digs it, then that's all good. But I feel called to roll the dice around, not to answer the Rick Rubin thing, but just to see if anyone wants to talk to us about where we're at on this path. 653. All right, toward the end of the book. Interesting. Pretty interesting, actually. So Ruth Strasberg is my dear friend, 81. She knows how much I love quotes and reading, so she sent me an envelope of handwritten Post-it note quotes she's collected for 40 years. And so that this book is a combination of her words that she's found, like these pebbles on the beach that we collect, and then some of our own words in there and friends. My dog has a quote in here that just says harumph, which is one of my, I hope we get it on. I want to roll it 3 times in the episode. But this is her quote. The first half of your life is about addition. The second half is about subtraction. That feels fitting to me in some way. I don't know. The Michelangelo David statue, removing everything that isn't David. Back to the vision card. Stripping away all those. How does Michael Mead say? He says, yeah, the contract. The vision is like a soul contract. But then we make many secondary contracts as we are out of the womb and adapting to our environments. And those accumulate, but the calling keeps calling. So yeah, Rudolf Steiner, I think he said 35 is the decline of the body officially and hopefully the ascension of the soul.
Interesting. I turned 45 this year. And I didn't feel any kind of decline. Honestly, I was just like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? I felt so young and so vital and like I was just getting in the best shape of my life. And when 45 happened, like something changed. I was like,
Wow.
oh shit. Like this is not a perception of self. This is like my cells are shifting now.
Wow.
And that's this year. And it's put me in contemplation around like the second arc. Like the second chapter of life and the midpoint. Like if I live till 90, if I'm blessed to live till 90, this is the halfway point. And I really think that idea of subtraction is so cool. It's like subtraction to as a distillation process. It's like it gets more potent and refined, and I haven't thought about it that way, so it's a really cool reflection.
I love that.
And the vision card, a lot of times we think of it as additive, like we have to come up with a vision. You like hear that languaging. And it's always like, no, if we take away all this stuff and all of this stuff and this fog over here and this whatever the hell, then the thing appears because it's there already. It's not a matter of getting it.
It's the longing. And in your beginning of your archetype guidebook, you talked about the muse or the vision. To me, I see it as like a magnetic call, and those who are destroyed or their illusions or their things are devastated are actually the most blessed, because it means that the gods are going out of their way to bring them back. So the divorce you talked about, all these different collapsing things of what a logical mind would say, oh no, that's the subtraction, partially part of the subtraction to me. And what's funny is subtraction, again, can, like the Alan Watts, can mean so many different things to different people. For me, subtraction has actually unintentionally produced more prolific creation than I've ever done. But what I've subtracted
yeah.
is, certain social things, alcohol, whatever. I've just more importantly than those types of specific literal things, which are obviously metaphors in a certain form, but are the thoughts or the kind of cosmological I don't know, tinkering with my cosmology to see my place. That's also what Pacifica has helped me so much. Like, oh, the root words from Greek to the language we use has been changed so much and watered down. And just seeing the evolution of thought and society and creativity, I'm like, I don't like saying I'm like modern. Sorry. I feel much more clear in my place in relation to, which liberates me to be not so bumping my head against the same door again and again. Like, why is this happening? It's like, oh, I get it. So now I can do this. I'm free.
Yeah, it's a redirect and like a calling back to the calling. It's such a
Exactly.
relief to start thinking like that. I just want to go back to your point around like limitations and art making. I think limitations are one of the most underrated methods of creativity. It's
Mm,
such a good tool. Like if you, okay, imagine these two scenarios. Scenario A is like Fleetwood Mac in the studio, unlimited time,
mm,
unlimited funds,
mm.
unlimited drugs, unlimited instruments. Like they have to make a record.
That's
If you
puer
okay,
puella.
if you aren't Fleetwood Mac, you're
Mm,
completely fucked. I mean, that's how they made Rumors, but like
yeah.
if you aren't that precise fabrication of people, you are fucked. You're just on drugs and you never make the thing and I have this idea, well, who cares? As opposed to scenario B is like, you know, somebody has a seasoned musician. I think Keith Richards is like
Mm,
he has a record where he's trying to get sober. He's in a cabin or someplace in Canada for like a couple weeks.
mm,
He doesn't have any good mics and he has a piano
mm,
and he makes a record.
mm.
And like that is so potent. Like if you have a assignment, assignments are like based off of limitations, you could say.
100%. Yeah.
And I feel like why artists like struggle so much is we don't have enough assignments, like from each other, and from a mentor or from a friend or, I have a dear poet friend, and I was like, will you please write a poem about like a, a rose? She was like, oh my God. I thought it was so cliche, but she was like, I'm so excited. I just love an assignment. And I could feel like,
Exactly.
wow, we don't get these tasks. And so I think the limitation is really powerful and underrated.
100%. And when I used to be in the studios and we had not endless, but we were there for many hours, less would get done than now as a father having to do things in 20 minutes and, waking up at 4 a.m. For one of the projects, I actually wrote 36 poems in a day. And it's
Great. I love
amazing.
that kind of project.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was amazing. Like, and it was partially I'm talking about how I'm such a like addict of art, and I'm like, I promise I won't write this book in a day. But it became the form was that, and 36 is the outcome of rolling two dice. So dice, which part of my individuation, and Jung's idea of going back to things you loved as a child, I played dice in New York as a kid, and so it's been a eureka. And now I have like 6 books with dice because the first project with dice came with a book of poetry I wrote. But anyway, so now another example of finding a form, and then within that, it's limitless what I can do with dice.
Amazing.
So that's really fun. Okay, I have all these other thoughts and ideas. So you said, it said, they said, we said, the role of the artist, after all, is to awaken that which has fallen asleep. I love that. I just wanted to add that to the mix. there's a quote in the beginning of the book. I forget who says it, but they say everything that needed to be said has already been said, but no one was listening, so it has to be said again.
And again and again and
And again.
again.
And that's the revivifying, or the Michael Meade, the world is constantly creation is recreation, is a constant ongoing thing. Like creation's not behind us. So to awaken what has fallen asleep, Anima Mundi, James Hillman's animism perspectives, which I adore. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen a lot of awakening from your art, like having so much beautiful stuff in the world. I imagine you've been witness to people coming online a little bit more and more from being in contact with what came through you.
I do. I mean, I do get great like reflections from people by email and notes and feedback. But when I think of that quote, I think more of the sleep, the sleepiness
Mm,
that I have, that we all have in our own way, and like what it feels like to awaken that dormant energy. It just feels so good, and it's such a relief and such a
mm,
freedom of like life force. And it brings me back like to the physical body in a way when I think about the dormant energy. It's like it's in us. It's in the individual, and it's not like an intellectual pursuit for me. It's something that I can discover like in a dance class or in a studio with like red paint, and it's
mm,
very visceral kind of awakening of like playing basketball or things I used to do when I was younger, that like parts of me that are have gone to sleep for whatever reason or the other. And I think the artist is always finding those materials or questions or guitar riffs or something that's like snoozing back there, and they
mm,
just nudge it to life, and they're like, oh yeah, this melody and this harmony and this, and then you breathe it to life through the actual attention and the practice. So I think of it kind of like in a yogic sense of like that image of this serpent sleeping at the base of the spine, the kundalini is like covered in dust of forgetting,
mm,
and that like the subtle action of just like bringing awareness to the base of the body, the navel, the thing wants to move, like it
mm,
wants to move. So it's
mm,
not us like awakening and like shaking the thing up. It's more like these subtle nudges, and the thing is like, I'm
mm.
alive. You're alive. We're alive.
The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. That's what Rumi always said.
Exactly. I'm so happy you have that poem like at your fingertips, tongue tip.
I'm a
What a
poetry
blessing.
vending machine. I put quarters in my own ears, and I just.
I just want the listeners to know, like, do you know how few people on earth could have just riffed that Rumi reference? Like that, I've heard that poem a couple of times, but no one like just has it on quick draw.
I got it.
So
Quick draw, holstered up. So Taylor.
that that's an example of energy being awake. Like that poet archetype is like awake in you. So
Do you?
it can
Yeah.
like say the thing
Do
just
you
then.
know Rumi's name is obviously spelled Rumi, and I thought I've never heard anyone else say it. So I guess I'm trying to take a little credit for my little weird lens of life, but his name is kind of a clue in and of itself because it's Rumi. So his damn name is a poem. That means, well, a few things. Let me see if I can catch it. Apparently, Michael Meade told me through his podcast, not directly on this one, but um, Rumi's father was a mystic and a poet. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
And back then, they would only print one copy of the book, like a grimoire, I guess. His dad died, and Rumi was the one who carried on his father's tradition and was reading his father's poems. and he would go places and read his father's poems. And his father apparently was a great mystic. One day, Shams, who is Rumi always writes to Shams, like his love, his teacher, yeah. And Shams apparently was a wild mystic, as in someone who lived like on the boundary, like a desert mystic who didn't really fuck with society at all, just out there. He came to one of Rumi's dad readings, which was by a fountain, took his dad's book and dropped it in the water and said, at a certain point, you need to speak the words from your own blood. But if you want, I can take that book back out and it'll be unharmed and not even wet. And he did that and he gave it to him. And everyone was like, oh my God, a miracle. And from then on, Rumi put his dad's book down, followed Shams for a while, and then he became Rumi.
Amazing.
I love that story.
I like this story. Um, to just reiterate, I can't believe you also know that story. So it's just really great. You have a great archive. It reminds me of, I don't mean to just like pivot the story
No,
back
please.
to me and the tarot, but it's an interesting moment in my tarot journey. I was drawing the Wild Unknown Tarot, which I would self-publish. This is back in 2012. I was super self-conscious about drawing it because there were experts out there and I wasn't one of them. I was just an artist and a mystic trying to study stuff. And I had friends being like, no, there are tarot experts. You cannot publish this without more research. And I was like, but I am doing my research. Like
Yeah.
that's what this is
Yeah.
research. And so I went to get a tarot reading while I was drawing the deck. I like just finished it or something like that. And I didn't tell the tarot reader that I had just drawn a tarot deck because I was so embarrassed and I felt like kind of a outsider or what's that phrase, a imposter artist.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't tell her because I thought she was the expert and I wasn't.
Mm.
And the last card that she drew in the reading was the Hermit.
Mm.
And she said to me, I don't know what you're doing because you haven't really let me know what you're actually up to. But whatever you're doing, you need to close all the books. Stop listening to other people. Stop looking at what they were doing. And you have to write your own words.
Mm. Wow. There you go.
And that it meant so much to me. She gave me 1,000% permission to just like no more reading about the tarot. Like if this is going to be meaningful for people, books are closed. I'm drawing and I'm writing from my heart and my own curiosity and experience.
Beautiful. Yeah, Herman Hesse talks about that. Like he's a seeker and he's always been a seeker, but at a certain point he stopped looking in books and things of that nature and started to look in his own blood and in the stars and things like that. And I agree, like for me, and as I imagine you too, I love books. So it's like, yes, and it's more for me the part that was looking for permission or not standing on my own. But now I read books constantly, obviously because of Pacifica, but also in addition, but I don't do it in a way that's giving away my power. It's more about having conversations with time travelers and just, it's really fun in that way.
Exactly. It's less from an insecurity for me now. And that word of conversation is such a big one. It's a collaboration. I mean, I feel at this point like I'm collaborating with James Hillman and I'm collaborating with Jung. And whether they know it, like they agree to it in some
For
cosmic level, like we're working on something.
100%.
I get what I can get from their work and I pass it on to whoever is going to collaborate with me in the future. So it's really fun to think of it that way.
And it definitely is that way. And Jung said something about the great ones throughout time, or the ancients, never died. They just changed their names. man, there's, when you go in, like when I went to when I had a chemically induced psychosis and I was in Harlem, living in Harlem, I saw through the reality, but I was in a lens where, because of alcohol and weed and starvation and Tom Robbins, never to be confused with fucking Tony Robbins, Tom Robbins, rest in poetry. And anyway, point being, it was like this perfect storm that led me to see life as purgatory, and that everyone's dead and no one realizes it. So it had this twinge of like mania, paranoia, etc. But on the other side of that, now I'm not manic, but I have a similar like excitement to say, like, every day, like when I'm tapped in, and I usually am. Obviously, my son might have incredible meltdowns because he has a lot of intensity, or my amazing wife might be in a bad mood, or whatever it may be. I don't feel good in my body a lot just because bodies are tough. So I get drawn back down, but I feel like running up to people and saying, like, do you really realize what this is? Which is kind of the awakening. Like, this is, every day is Christmas. We are part of an immortal dance. I've always known that since a kid. This is a true fairy tale we're in. And so the time travelers, the immortals, they're right here. They've always been here. It's very exciting. It's very exciting.
Do you feel like it's like a Bardo type of space, or not so much?
No, I mean, now the way I see it is, it's the laughter. It's the laughter of the immortals, as Hess wrote about. There's levels. Don't believe your beliefs, because your beliefs will create your reality to some extent. This is what I'm talking about today. So I'm not holding on to this in any way, but I do believe right now that, as Yogananda said, when someone was asking him about heaven and hell, and how he said all the prophets were basically saying the same thing on the same page, but their followers are obviously beefing over semantics, that the guy said, so how do you believe in hell? Like, you talk of blah, blah, blah. And he said, where do you think you are right now? So to me, what he meant by that, because he's not in hell by saying that, is it's up to you what you want it to be. Is it purgatory? Yeah. I mean, to me, in the end, I have no idea what it is, but I feel like I'm a little kid. One of my favorite cosmologies is The Egg by Andy Weir, the short story, The Egg. I told it yesterday on a podcast, but I'll say it again. I think I've probably said it multiple times on here, but guy dies, hit by a car, wakes up in the void. There's this person there who gives off kind of the aura of a principal of a school. I love that, if I'm correctly remembering. And the guy says, are you God? And the person says, yeah, kinda. And the guy says, am I dead? You are. Oh no, what about my wife and kids? And God says, we both know that wasn't going that well, but that shows maturity of you to ask about that, not thinking of yourself first. They're going to be fine. They miss you. They're sad, but they'll be good. The conversation goes on. You should read it yourself. But long story short, he's asking God, what happens next? What is it all about? God says you're going to be reincarnated as a 1500s Chinese peasant woman. He says, wait, I go back in time. Time doesn't really work like that. Do I lose my memories? No, all of your memories are stored in this vast, unconceivable to your mind, inconceivable. But there, blah, blah, blah. So you're going back. Do I run into myself? Because the way God describes it, oh yeah, all the time. God says there's only you. Everyone is you. There's only one you.
Oh, God.
And so then the guy says, so you're saying I'm a god? And then God says, no, you're a fetus. This whole world is an egg. I love that. I'm not saying that's the vibe, but those kind of things. I think it's a joke. I think we're eternal beings, immortal, eternal beings. And what else are you going to do with eternity? As my dad would say, you're going to make shit. You're going to blow it up. You're going to play hide and seek. You're going to take the amnesia pill. You're going to get sleepy. But it's all a coming home party and a dance. And for me, but the word benevolent comes to mind, but also implying the opposite of benevolent is unnecessary. I think there's just a loving joy, and we are, this, if we're immortal, like, yeah, the ferocity of what appears to be real is actually still just like tumbling with your mama on the carpet of like little jaguar puppies if that's what they're called. They're probably not puppies. They probably have a much cooler name than that. But yeah, I think it is what it is, and it's not what I mean. It's for me right now. It's just kindergarten, and I'm having a blast. And every day I wake up like I can't wait to see what happens, and I can detect more and more what's for me. Like I have like 3 or 4 podcasts. I put out more music. I mean, I do way too much, but it's just right for me, and I know which is mine and which isn't. And I can feel the stories and the songs that want to come through, and I don't even write them. I just stenographer. And, so I'm going to sell a diet of $9.99 of how you can be exactly happy like me. Coming soon.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So let's see.
How long have you been sober for?
I was sober for 7 years from alcohol, but I was still smoking a little bit of weed. And then weed became too much when my son was born. My best friend died, who is the co-founder of our channel, The Sun Collective, and it involved a bit of alcohol. He had struggles with alcohol. Anyway, I started drinking beer again when he died and quit weed. And then now I've officially been sober off everything for 2 years.
Great. Congrats.
And I, man, my wife has the text do you hear that ding?
Yeah.
I hate that ding. Dings.
It's perfect. It was right when you said it was 2 years. Ding.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
That's good.
One of the titles of the book, the 36 poem book I wrote in a day, I like doing books that flip halfway so there's 2 covers. So one of the titles is somewhere something is beeping. So that's modernity.
That's true.
Well, I don't know how much time you got.
I always think of like, I'm inspired to share these like 3 tips that I've been thinking, like if I had to write a book of like, there's only 3 secrets to being an artist, Yeah. Like if I'm the next Rick Rubin giving my whole thesis about how to be an artist, it'd be 3 things. Get sober.
Mm-hmm.
I could write paragraphs and pages in books, but just get sober.
Mm-hmm.
Second, do something with your navel every day. Some exercise that generates heat in the body, wakes up the forces in your torso. And 3, get around good people.
Starting with yourself.
Yep. I think if those 3 things are in place and you have some kind of interest in a material or an instrument or melody or a poetry, something, if there's a 10% interest there, you can't help but have an art career, not even career, whatever that means, an art path that changes you.
Vocation.
Like, is transformative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
A deep, creative life.
The name of
Without those 3, it's a little tricky.
Agreed. The name of the paper I wrote for Mary's class is how to sustain. What is it? How to activate and sustain a creative life during a slow motion apocalypse.
Great.
And I talked about clownfish because all clownfish are born male. And when the alpha dies, it transforms into a female and becomes the queen.
Wow.
And the clown is the fool. And that process is called sequential hermaphroditism. What better analogy for nature showing individuation right there?
Wow. There
you got to die to
the
become
map.
the queen. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm working on a project called Mr. Clownfish Becomes the Queen.
Great.
No more diets, only art. That was something that I really was struck by in your Blossoms and Bones, and that excruciatingly powerful, confessional, stunning work that you wrote. And again, I've suffered with, I think about like, I forgot the guy's name, but he says, Carl Rogers, a therapist, I guess, said, when I accept, the ironic or paradox is that when I accept myself as I am, then I can change. And I've tried to diet and restrict and edit. And I think we're in a culture, obviously, that does that with surgery and phones, and everyone's anuses are clenched. And It's exhausting. And so no more diets, only art. The other paper I wrote is called RX Sophia. That was for Dr. Nick's class. I don't know if you know Dr. Nicholas Latursky, but they are my other professor, a self-proclaimed non-binary gay sorcerer. That's Pacifica right there. That's what they talk about themselves as that. But RX Sophia to me is this revolutionary idea, and no more diets, only art feels like that, is that the whole idea of healing in the modern world is askew in my understanding, the same as manifesting. Because I feel like healing is this, it's not that it's selfish per se, but it's focusing on the you as a body and trying to become perfect. Whereas Frida Kahlo, for example, was presented in our class as someone who fully lived out an individuated life. But her life was tortured. She was an alcoholic to the end, but she got her visions out. She wasn't healthy, but she was healthy in her vision. And so that RX Sophia, for me, the prescription of wisdom was to heal. I need to get into the tide flow of my vision, my vocation. And then paradoxically, there is a holistic healing that happens, whether that's my body wants to do certain things that make it more light and etc. But that to me was a big revelation. Can you speak a little bit about that before we close? Just, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. No more diets, only art. That's the quote from the book. Yeah. So that's from Blossoms and Bones. So that book was written at a particularly massively challenging crossroads in my life, like post-divorce, post-loss of pregnancies, and just like a personal apocalypse, basically. Also, right when I was discovering Jung. And so there's this promise in Jung's work of like, follow the image or ask the image, stay with the image, and that the discontent or the dis-ease has some intelligence in it. So I was using that book to discover, just for context for your listeners, like what this disordered eating that was a result of all these massive changes in my life. Like, okay, well, put my money where your mouth is, Jung. Like, I'm going to follow this feeling of the distorted self-image and this unsatiation, that the inability to be satiated was perhaps the strongest quality of it. And so I made drawings of that feeling, which then became the graphic memoir that you're speaking of now, that came out in 2020. And I think a lot about satiation and art. And anytime I'm really in the weeds, in the harsh sense of it, of weeds, like in the grind of body dysmorphia, what am I eating? Am I good enough in XYZ ways? What should I be doing? All that stuff. I'm usually not making art. I get such satiation, such sensual bodily satiation from my artwork and working with paint, working with the piano, working with whatever the material is, even in my yoga practice, working with a mantra, chanting out loud. Like those things are satiating. Like they satisfy this need that I have to, like, I want to feel like I'm fucking alive if I'm here. I don't want to feel like I'm a zombie, like going through this series of motions. So when I'm not doing those things, by doing, I don't even mean like I have to be doing a zillion paintings or something, just like touching the paint and moving it around. When I'm not in that zone, I'll start my dial for like self-judgment and criticism and trying to find solutions of that through dieting, body image, over-exercise, whatever the fuck, doing all the calf stretches they say I should be doing on Instagram, and mobility, blah, 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 to fixing my crow's feet or something. I don't know, all the fucking things. I'm like, oh no, I need to, like, that's the mission. That's what I need to do, actually.
Mm.
I need to fix the crow's feet.
Mm.
And if I, that's so not satiating for me.
Mm.
Because it's usually not attainable and it's like there's a product involved. But if I go back to this like sensual relationship to the world, even like how I drink the water, how I prepare the food, who I eat with, what the conversations are, like if that can get more nourishing, not literally through like what vegetables or macro ingredients, but like if it all can just be a little more nourishing, my restlessness for diet culture and my seduction of that whole world just dissipates. Like the art does do what diet culture makes me think I need. The art does that.
Well, it's the religious instinct, as Jung said after Freud, and who's the other person who said power was the first instinct? You know what I'm talking about? It's slipping my mind. But Freud said sex, the other guy said power, and Jung said religion, but not religion, the religious instinct, which is needing to have the God image within seen and reflected without. I don't know if you read the book Religious but Not Religious while you were in that program, but it's pretty cool. And the title says it all. But what you're saying and what Rumi did apparently as a whirling dervish who would literally apparently spin and spout poems, like wouldn't even write. He'd be like in a trance, you know. It's almost like for me being made love to by the divine and making love to the divine and getting swept into the divine. And Jung said when you have that, and for us it sounds like creativity among other things are our religion. I mean, for me it is, as well as other practices and whatnot. But I have a very religious life that's not in line with any religion per se. And that's another quote, mindful of the time, that I sent to two of my people, and God help me, I'm awake this morning, from Emerson. Emerson said, make your own Bible, select and collect all the words and sentences that in all your readings have been to you like the blast of a trumpet.
That's a great assignment.
Yeah, make your own Bible, right? That's
an assignment right there.
Let's do that. Okay. In another life, or that, who knows, we'll team up and do a make your own Bible workshop.
We just need a deadline. That's all we need.
Life is a deadline to love. Death is the deadline. You know, no, for real though. Okay. Anyways, all sorts of thoughts about things. And what Jung said though about that is when you have that meaning, that get up in the morning, that being made love to by the universe, I am a part of something, meaning really, then sex, neuroses, power, blah, 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 all those other things naturally fall into line. But that's the leader. And like without that, you're fucked.
Yeah.
If you keep trying to treat those other things separately and don't have like meaning in your life, you're fucked. That's the repositioning.
Yeah. It goes back to the vision. I think that's the central image, the image that holds
the vision.
Yeah.
I opened your book as we close to that page. I don't know if you can see it fully, but
great.
May I befriend the forces of time so that I, like the serpent, may complete while becoming. Weak them, well, you got tricky. Weak them, braid. Weave them. I love your style, man. You give a lot of...
Weave them, braid them.
Weave them, braid them, shed them. Oh, I get it. Shed them, fold them. Wow. Beautiful.
Trippy shit.
Trippy shit. But just permission to be, you know, permission to move about the cabin. That's the other name of this episode. I just decided that's the invisible name for Mars and Portia. They just named it.
They're right here.
To permission to move about the cabin. Catnip. Soul catnip is, hello, y'all.
Mars. Dreaming.
Dreaming.
He's
awake.
Always dreaming.
I'm calling this episode talking in your sleep. A Unihemispheric Tête-à-Tête. I don't know how to say that. Tête-à-Tête with Kim Krans. Okay, roll the dice for the third time to close. 2-1-1. Interesting. The 1-1-1, but the 2-1-1. Let's see what that's all about.
Wait, I also have a question before we end.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, if 2 dice rolled as 2 ones is called snake eyes, what's
Of course.
3 dice called?
Trips. Oh, three ones. That I don't know, actually. That's a good question.
I
That's
think
called the
it's a
third-eyed
snake eye.
serpent.
It's a snake eye third eye.
It's
Maybe
the
that's the
third-eye
name of
snake.
the episode.
Yeah.
Third eye
That's
snake eye.
third-eye
Right,
snake eye. Go love
this is-
yourself, motherfucker. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it has to be
Could-
3 different colors. I figured out too, so you know which order it is. So purple, pink, black.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But I love that. Thank you for pointing that out. The third eye snake.
Because Snake Eyes is so cool as a name. Like, how did the dice got named that?
I
Like,
know, it's crazy.
everyone knows that. Like, my stepdad that plays cribbage is like, that's Snake Eyes, you know?
My sister Lauren, who's a part of this, found out yesterday that CeeLo, the game that I played in New York, it originates with Chinese immigrants, and it was called the 4-5-6 game. And I'm pushing
It's
our
like the
time.
4-5-6 train.
4-5-6 train. 4-5-6, 100%. When you roll it, is an automatic win.
What do you win?
You win crumpled cash when you're playing in there, but in our world, you win other things. You win yourself back. Darn, there's a line in one of the poems you're making me think of. Snake eyes, motherfucker. That's how the poem starts. Snake eyes, motherfucker. This is filibuster jazz. That's actually the end of the poem.
Maybe that's the name of the podcast. Snake Eyes, motherfucker.
Oh, yeah, maybe. I think I have to stick with talking in your sleep at Unihemispheric. If not, we have to do another episode and then do that because I really like that title. I'm like, okay.
Or you could have title A and B, and then you could have your listeners vote.
I hate to say it, but I don't give a fuck about when I do. No. I mean, I love everyone listening.
Don't go Rick Rubin on me.
I could never. Rick Rubin. Let me just bite my tongue really fast about everything. Shout out to everyone. Why don't I leave?
I love Rick Rubin, by the way. It's just that one thing. I'm like, yo, dude.
Well, Rick Rubin is. I know. My godfather. Anyway, I've met Rick Rubin. I have people who are very close who actually helped work on that book with Rick Rubin, and everything's a projection. Everything's a projection. Rick Rubin is great, and he's obviously just a modern face for ancient wisdom. We're going to do a book called God Help Me, I'm an Artist, because honestly, there's some shit that I'm learning in Pacifica about what it is to be an artist that it's simultaneously more terrifying and devastating to be an artist and more rewarding in unfathomable ways. And I think there's a lot of illusions about art. Let me not get started. Once we said Snake Eyes, motherfucker, then my Serpentino came out. I got a character in myself named Serpentino. He sells mixtapes and Chinese printed duplicates of he sells Chinese duplicates of my own projects to undercut my master plans. The quote that I pulled for 211 is from Ram Dass. The game is not about becoming somebody. It's about becoming nobody.
So beautiful. Ram Dass.
Shout out to everyone. If you have a certain title you prefer, then you should tattoo it on your ass, man. Just kidding. Sorry. Joking.
And just a shout out to Guru Ram Dass, who we know from this past century, was named after. So just so that people know, Ram Dass has a lineage name. If you look up the first Ram Dass, it's many centuries ago.
It's like Rumi's dad. It's a game of telephone. It's bears repeating, as in grizzly bears repeating in a domino fashion.
Yeah.
Let me
People
stop.
have been chanting Ram Dass for centuries.
My mom used to go to the Krishna Das thing, the events he had in New York when there was only like 10 people there. And then Rick Rubin produced Krishna Das. A lot of full circles, you know.
Love Krishna Das and Rick Rubin. I actually sat next to Rick Rubin recently at a poetry reading by the wonderful, the really wonderful Three Rivers. What is his name?
I don't know.
Contemporary poet. He's from the Pacific Northwest.
Not the young Pueblo guy.
No.
No.
He's oh wow. I'm gonna have to text you later, and you can blurp it in as if I remembered.
We'll bloop it in, blip it. But thank you, and I'm very grateful, and most importantly, I hope everyone listened to Mars and Portia instead of us, because I'm sure it was much more powerful. Shout out to everyone. If you have a certain title you prefer, then you should tattoo it on your ass, man. Just kidding. Sorry. Joking.
Tell the Mizet he needs like 5 more years of life so this young boy can keep coming back and learning from him.
I told you I was sick, written on the headstone. I don't give a shit about fitting into metronomes. Clicks, get it? Rhythm of the Zen bones, Zen flesh speaking in clicks like Hamisi song. My man from Tanzania, TVR. He smoked weed and newspapers for the haps. Gods must be crazy, outpatient tit for tat. Spivak made the hits and hi-hats clap like packing a pack of American spirits and cellophane wrap. Save the lucky one for a cup of rum, mixed with milk like the Harlem Rastas taught me, son. Not bad, but being bipolar, the chemicals interfere with the signals from the solar and the lunar, so the truth for me is better to be sober. Who asked you? Who gives up? And what have you? My bad, I must be death lag from the last news. Past life regress, I mess, so I vacuum. Take it from the boy with the dragon tattoo. Through the umbilical cord my mic's attached to. I give birth every time I pass through. It's masculine to have a phantom womb, you know? It's natural, be weird if you didn't. Scared of the critic, can't stand on square business. I'm pulling prayer rugs from underneath the snitches. With IKEA ideas, your lair is pathetic. In Plato's cave, old grizzly bear itches. Scratch and sniff lotto ticket, how we share riches. My eyelids been twitching for 5 days, tripping. Should take a Vipassana in deep space, listen. Silence I discover is something you can actually hear. Haruki Murakami whispers in my ear.
Told you I was healed. Sick of niggas lying for a dime in a deal. I rhyme for the real. Finally revealed. Samuel L. Jackson, license to kill. Riding unconcealed. Escape from a time capsule. Corporate thug with some sliders like White Castle. Live from the life after. Big enough to carry my own weight. Daddy keep it P, name a boy batter. What's a joy to a kangaroo? Got my chest out, meet me out back. We can swing a few. Metric ton, megalodon, eat my own bait. Fish off the wrong bank, watch the pole shake. Speak from the soul, reap what I sow. Seen never told, we never fold. Fuck it, I tell them. Your whole album garbage, your shit not selling. Ship is now selling. I'm captain of the Trailblazers, Hellraiser, no God yelling. Stalemate. Now you stuck between a rock and a hard place. Hey, lighten up. Where I'm from, keep it screwed and we tighten up. Got myself a gun and a mic like I'm Nas in a Nike jumpsuit with the Midas touch. Fuck, masked up while he slide like the Mighty Ducks. On the same mission as the hockey puck. Trying to get to the goal, dodge the goalies. My thumb sent it in while you type emojis. Strike the goal, overcame any obstacle to stand before me. Hey, ain't no hype for hoes. Fuck around, start snoring cause these thoughts bore me. For real.